Now first, redlining. Redlining is a black issue where...
Oh, hold up, Despy. Were you just about to white-splain redlining?
Yup!
Maybe you should let someone with a little more experience take this one? Thanks, Despy. Practice of redlining began based on sales practices regarding theories on race and property values in the early 1920s, then was solidified by the National Housing Act of 1934 on the heels of the New Deal, when the federal government involved themselves in the practice and establishment of the Federal Housing Administration. The underwriting manual of the FHA said that incompatible racial groups should not be permitted to live in the same communities. These practices were applied to the underwriting criteria for mortgages and made it that loans to Black people could not be insured. The intention of these practices was to provide housing to white middle and lower class families and exacerbate the racial segregation and urban decay. In 1935, the Federal Home Loan Bank Board looked at 239 cities to create a residential security map. And by security, I mean they carved the city in a scheme of A through D rankings, with A being outlined as green and desirable to lend, and red being designated too risky to loan to. Specifically, a threat to the stability of home value. Emphasis on home value. The implementation of red lines was so pronounced that in Detroit, the FHA wouldn't develop unless a 6-foot-tall wall was built separating the development between Black and white citizens. These practices were undergirded by the idea of exclusionary covenants, which created deed restrictions that were not deemed unenforceable until 1948. These covenants prohibited the buyer of a real property from allowing use or occupancy by members of a given race, ethnicity, or religion specified in the title. An example of the wording in one of these titles is, said premises shall not be rented to, leased, or conveyed to, or occupied by any person other than of what the white or Caucasian race. Thank you, Beverly Hills. The outcomes of these practices can be seen with the educational disparities due to property taxes being a significant source of funding for public schools, and minorities being barred through the residential mapping from higher income property. This also had the effect of reducing generational wealth among minorities due to being excluded from viable loans, or even worse, falling into predatory loan practices. Black families were prohibited from buying homes in the suburbs from the 40s to the 60s, gained none of the property appreciation of their white counterparts. By the time the Fair Housing Act came into effect in 1968, the homes available to Black people were marginally unaffordable, and while white families could use their home equity to send their children to college and sustain generational wealth, Black people have been largely excluded.